Hi, Marcelo. How are you?
Hello, Alberto.
We hear from the channel of YouTube Vinhos e Prazeres, receiving a personality of the Alsace wine. It's
Bonjour, Philippe. Bonjour,
Bonjour,
merci.
bonjour Marcelo. Bonjour
Merci
Alberto.
beaucoup.
Always a pleasure to meet you back.
It's a pleasure for us having you here in our channel, our YouTube channel, Vinhos e Prazeres, to have this pleasant conversation with us. For your time, thank you very much.
Felipe is an unforgettable person. He received us in Alsace the best way he could do. After our visit to the lands of Alsace, and he explained about the lands and the types of wines, we tasted with him some wine, and he said, "Which wine you prefer?" I said one, my wife other, and we received as a gift both wines. And unhappily, I don't have anyone anymore, but I'm happy because I tasted in special occasions that I think it's a wonderful wine.
But you know, Alberto, when I do a tasting with everybody, it's not about it's everybody. When I get a great tasting, I always offer a bottle to keep the memory of the moment. It's a sort of a celebration. It's a little bit special. It has a meaning, and the intention is really strong, so that people have a second emotional let's say burst, because they remember the intensity of the first tasting, and then they focus and they get a second intensity of this sensation that is not anymore the same, but the background is very rich. And so I do it with everyone. So when people come for tasting, and the tasting is really strong, intense, I do that.
Could you tell us about the wines of Alsace that I think it's not so understand in Brazil, and you make wonderful wines.
There are 2 or 3 things you have to know in Brazil when you taste Alsace wine. Brazil, with the climate, is a warm climate. The perception of Alsace wine is a little different, and so the perception in a cool climate like in Europe, there is a difference, because when the people do a tasting in Brazil, the weather is very hot, so the wines are served very cold. That's the first point. And so every time I go in Brazil, the perception of my wine are different than when I am in France. You have probably noticed it. That means the taste is less powerful. So that means it's a reason why probably in Chile and Argentina and in Brazil, the wine are very powerful for us in Europe, because the climate is different. Because when I taste Argentinian wine, Chilean wine, or Brazilian sparkling, for me, the taste is like Burgundy and Bordeaux is normal. But when I take these, I bought a few wines from Argentina and Chile a few months, and they are very powerful. I can use it only summertime or when I have very powerful food. So this is first thing you have to know. Climate plays a role in the perception of the taste. It's a reason why people of Brazil like Riesling, and they like Gewürztraminer, because the wines are very punchy. For the zesty note for Riesling and the punchy note of spices. Gewürztraminer is a little more in a sort of the mood of people of Brazil, because it is exotic. So it's normal that the people of Brazil love mango, papaya, because they know exactly the taste of mango and papaya. We know it only from books and from cans. It's not a real taste. You know, when you take a mango from the tree, you taste it. It's another world we don't have in France. So first, this is the thing. So when I bring wine, even very powerful wine like Côte Rôtie, or with my cousin Jean-Marc, who has a house in Fortaleza, the taste is more like Burgundies than anything else, you see, because it's less powerful. So first thing you have to do is this second thing is a screw cap. it's a luxury to have screw caps in Brazil. Why? Because the screw cap protects the wine from excess of variation of temperature, and also they protect from extra oxidation you have when it's very warm in the cellars. So I think screw cap is a very important point for quality, especially for white wine in Brazil. Investing in screw cap is, for me, a great potential for the wines and for consumer to get quality products instead to have wines that are too old after 2 or 3 years, you see, because there are variation of temperature. And especially magnums are outstanding. I have seen the visitors of Brazil, when they come, they buy expensive wines. I don't know if it's to pay the ticket, but they buy expensive wine, 100, 200 euros a bottle. It's not a big deal for them because they know in Brazil it's rare to find these kind of wines, and with the taxes also it's a little. Voilà. So this is the first thing we have to say about the screw cap, and the taste of wine is a little different in Brazil. And that's the first impression. Okay, are you agreeing? Are you not agreeing? What do you think about that first?
I am a very big fan, a huge fan of screw caps. I've already tasted the marvelous wines from New Zealand and Australia with screw caps. I think there is a little of prejudice in the market about screw caps, that many people think that screw caps are used for not so quality wines, but I can assure every time I hear this,
you have this explosion of varietal notes that is fantastic with the screw cap. And even if the wine is 3 or 4 years old, it's just amazing to see that. And for me, that's the first, let's say, introduction of the top style of Alsace wine that is totally different than Burgundy or Loire Valley. It's because it's pure fruit in a stainless steel protection and dry fermented. This is really, let's say, the first side of the sexy side of the Alsace wine. It's a really pure fruit. The varietal fruit is really strong.
Are you using a screw cap?
Yeah.
Yes, 60 to 70% of our production is in screw cap since 2001. So next time you come, we can taste wines that are old, 2001, and you will see the age is just it's like a lady of 40 with a facelift, with a lifting. And don't speak about
I saw a video, I think, of your cousin. It was in French, and then I understood a little bit, but I couldn't understood.
You have the English version too. Huh? I send you the English version.
Please.
We have a lot of people that love this, and we export 80% of the production in 42 countries, and most of the non-Latin countries, they order only screw caps. First thing, varietal note, Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Muscat are explosive. Even Pinot Noir. This is really what 99% of the people know in Alsace, about Alsace in Brazil or outside of France. Because the reading, the perception of the varietal note is, there is a lot of different sensation from Sauvignon Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, everything, Carmenère, you see. So the people, they have a sort of horizontal understanding of all these different variety, and for them it's already an encyclopedia. But the point is, when you come to the people who are interested about something else than just the diversity of the rainbow colors, but something more about the vertical tasting, that means more profoundness. I know it's a touchy subject for the moment, but when you're married, you understand the different layers of the people, you see. When you're not married, you can go everywhere, but you never go in the deepness of a woman or the person.
Of the layers.
It's everywhere the same. But when you go and found this idea to go a little more into the depth, this is more the understanding of what we call secondary and tertiary flavor. Yeah. Primary flavor comes from the skin. So we macerate the skin with the juice and we extract like tea varietal notes from the skin. We call that primary flavor, and we call that also varietal notes. It's a reason why some producer in Alsace, they close the subject with varietal notes and they go only on terroir. And so they consider varietal is only one part of the orchestra, of the music. Okay, so voilà. But for me, varietal is a simple pleasure, really simple pleasure. You buy mango, you buy papaya, you buy apples. It's the same. It's a sort of natural diversity. When you come to terroir, you have a mid-step where you have the fruit, the varietal note, and the mineral note. But generally, it's better. You find these flavors only after 3-4 years, these mineral flavors, these terroir flavors, these fermentation flavor. Why? Because when you have lower yields, for example, for a classic wine, you do 60 hectoliter per hectare. For a terroir wine, you go down to 40 or to 30 or 20. That means by having less minerals, less fruit per vine, you have more minerals from the soil in it. We call that dry extract. Dry extract is a quantity of minerals
that the vine
that comes from the soil. We call it dry extract. So when we get high dry extract, we have more minerals. We have more texture. We have more potential flavors. We call précurseurs. Before flavors, we have pre-flavors. And so instead to ferment in 3 weeks, because the fermentation is with no connection with air in stainless steel, we use oak, big oak cask called foudre. And so the fermentation goes 3 months, or even 6 months, or 12 months for crazy, or 24 months for some, with some new generation, with amphor, with wine that needs more time to grow in, to ferment. So this primary flavor, less important, because you have more pulp, you have more minerals. So the ratio pulp and skin is much lower into the terroir wines because you have more minerals, you have more texture. So the wine has more texture on the palate. They have more consistency on the palate.
For these times of wine, you have to wait 3 to 4 years to appreciate.
Come to what we call the secondary flavor.
Okay.
Because the secondary flavor, the primary flavor is a mix of alcohol and acid. It's like a perfume. It's very volatile. But the terroir flavors and the pre-flavors we have during fermentation, they're only showing up later on. It's the reason why we sell this terroir wine only after 2-3 years. Grand Cru are better after 5 to 10 years. Donc, the texture of the terroir helps the wine when you have this primary flavor that is over, and it's an evolution, the wine closes down. When you have a wine that is classic, and after a certain time, the wine is fading away. It's the reason why some people say, Alsace, you have to drink it within 5 years or 4 years, with the exception of the screw cap. For the terroir wines, it's the opposite. When you buy the wine, it's already very expensive in Brazil because you have so many taxes. And, you get you get the reward after 3 to 7 years at least. Otherwise, you decant the wines. So for me, the perception of a terroir wine is a sort of other dimension of the Riesling, Pinot Gris, Gewürztraminer, etc. Why? Because when you get old vines and better location like the Grand Cru, the Premier Cru, like in Burgundy, you have a better grape, riper grape with lower yields. You get a wine that has a consistency. And this consistency is, how would I say that, is now more and more understood by the consumer, because there is this new key of reading, call it geosensorial. I say discover Alsace with a classic wine is fantastic because it's very funny. It's fun to taste different grapes and different tastes. But when you come to terroir, there is a little more consistency. And so I see the smile of Alberto because he has already tasted great wines in Alsace. And this terroir in Alsace is in incredible diversity. When you discover the terroir wine, it is a surprise. Sometimes you don't know what to expect because it's so new. I don't. If you see Alberto, the diversity of the terroir tastes, granite, clay, limestone, different variety, it is confusing for the people. So the first sensation when you taste terroir, first it's expensive, second confusing. Why? Because there are so many sensations in the wine that it's difficult to keep, to understand. It's something like first you have to receive the sensation. And so when you go to visit, for example, when you come to visit me, we visit the vineyards, I show the places, then we go in a cellar, we do the taste, we have this wine coming from here, this one. We do a little explanation. And when the people understands, it is something like a miracle in their eyes. That's first step. And second step, this is very important also for terroir. Everybody has a different style. Everybody has a different personality in Alsace, but the consumer also has a different personality. The wine is a personal experience. If you're, let's say, emotional, sensitive, and you are really like, you like to hug the people, but you will like the wine that hugs you. Yeah. And I have seen, for example, sensitive people that are not expressing their emotions, they love Riesling because they have space in front. Gewürztraminer, come. So what I wanted to say is everybody has a different nature. If you're more sensual, emotional, you will like the wine that are caressing the palate. If you're more, don't touch me or take your time, you will like the wine that are not too caressing. So I have to tell you, so there is a terroir, there is a grape variety, but also there is your own personality.
Sensitivity.
Yes. And so when you know that, I always keep the people in mind that they are playing their partition of taste. A friend of mine who is in a wine business since many years, he has a little saying in front of his office. It says, "Who decides what is beautiful?" It's you.
Yeah.
You. So I give always the potential to the people to share my passion, but with their own references. And after that, you will discover wine you love, discover wine you don't like. And it's nothing personal. It's just everybody has a different perception of what is harmony and beauty. And Alsace has an incredible diversity because with our culture, we are on the border of many different countries. We have been influenced by many different countries and traditions, like the Rhine River, like the French culture. The influences also of the food culture is important in Alsace. So this diversity for us is a richness, but far away from, viewed from Brazil, it can be complexity or complications. So it's not easy to do that. But when the people come to Alsace, and when you do wine seminars, the people are amazed by that, by this difference. So I think, you see, this is the first is Alsace is for people who do not drink labels. Alsace is for people who are really, for people who do not drink labels, really normal people. People who are adventurous, they're for curious people. What people come,
open-minded people,
drives the people, right? What drives people to come to drink Alsace wine is because they're they are curious. You will not find any consumer of Alsace who is not curious.
Yeah.
Think about that. You have label drinkers like everywhere in the world. They don't drink Alsace. Oh no, I prefer this or that. But when the people like Alsace, there is something going on. They're a little curious. They say, oh, I found a Sylvaner. Oh, I found a Muscat. What do you think about that? This is the consumer, the Brazilian consumer of Alsace. They're curious. And it's the reason why I like Brazil, because they're curious people. They drink Alsace because they like it. Well, unless the importer buys the wine also.
Olá, pessoal. A nossa conversa com o Philippe foi tão interessante que durou quase 2 horas. E eu fiz vários cortes para reduzir esse tamanho e também dividi em 3 partes. E na próxima parte, ele vai falar a respeito de degustação, que ele usa técnicas orientais para fazer a degustação e você ter uma profundidade maior na percepção do vinho. Obrigado. Se vocês gostaram, curtam, por favor. E também, se quiserem continuar recebendo os nossos vídeos, coloquem para seguir. Até mais.